And with that, I want to say welcome to Startup Talk Live. I'm here today with the founder of Razzall, Joe Rubini. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great, thanks. I'm great, thank you. If I'm
I've
sorry, no, go ahead, Craig. I was going to say,
no,
if I'm smiling with a pirate grin, I got diagnosed with Bell's palsy about 4 weeks ago, but we are on the mend. But it's a very slow recovery. It could take a few months before I get my natural beauty back. So, we'll do our best. We'll grin and bear and push through.
well, you look pretty good from here, so we'll
It
keep
might be
that
an
in mind.
improvement, actually.
That's great. So why don't we get into it? What is Razzle?
So Razol is the world's first centralized crowd purchasing platform where we have a bunch of users on our members that will participate in purchasing spots for any item of desire. And through our back-end process, everybody actually owns a piece of it, but what they agree through the terms and conditions is that once a seller's asking price is satisfied, that one person makes use of that item indefinitely through a randomizer that's based out of Ireland.
Great. And is that overall concept where everyone kind of chips in and one person gets ownership? Is that called crowd purchasing?
That's what, yes, we've coined that term. We've trademarked the word crowd purchasing. We've trademarked Raz and Razol as well.
And since you trademarked the name, why don't crowd purchasing? Why don't you give us the proper definition?
Crowd purchasing is having a group of people purchase an item of desire and allowing for one person to make use of it indefinitely.
Excellent. And we're going to delve into a little bit how you came up with the idea and how Razol works in a little bit. But I first like to start off with talking about who the entrepreneur was growing up. Were you a handful for your parents? Were you into music? Were you studious, into sports? Who was Joe as a lad?
So I always maintain the one thing that I'm proud of is I've never been unemployed since the age of 12, with the exception of a couple of weeks when my parents moved and I didn't have a vehicle. I was 16 or 17 at the time. I didn't have a vehicle to get to find a new job once we moved. So it took me a couple of weeks to get another job, and here I am. Growing up, I was probably a little bit of a handful. I was born premature, but you would have never known it. Um, and I've always been I've always had dreams or visions of from a young age to one day own my own business, and there's always been a hustle in me back in the day, even when it came time for if I could I would always say that if I'll work just as hard to make $100 as I will to make a buck. Um, so if there was an opportunity to make a couple of bucks at anything that I did back then, with the exception of anything illegal, obviously, but if there was an opportunity to make a couple of bucks back then, I was always game. I was the kind of guy that would look at something and say, that's pretty good. I wonder if I could buy 10 of them if I can get a better price and then flip them. And that's just what I've always done. I went to I'm going to say that through high school, I probably wasn't the best student. Again, it was always about applying yourself. And I always had to hear, if he just apply himself, he would do so much better in school, et cetera, et cetera. When I was working part time for a retailer and men's clothing retailer, and I like the idea of wearing a suit and a tie and going to work every day. And when I graduated high school, I decided to take that on full time. Well, the recession hit in the early 80s, and making 300 bucks a week all of a sudden wasn't cutting it. So I put my tail between my legs and went back to my parents and said, I want to go back to school. And they said, are you going to go back to school and you're going to actually go back to school, or is it going to be fun time for you? And I said, no, no, I'm really going to do it this time. So I went to Sheridan College in Oakville. I graduated with my 3-year business. I actually, my grades were better in college than they'd ever been in high school. I was an 80 90 student, and because I'd applied myself finally. And an opportunity came up in the industry that I'm currently in now, outside of Razol in logistics. And I did the logistics for 16 years under someone's guidance, and at some point, I felt that it was time for me to make a move on my own, and we opened Rally Logistics in 2008. which was very trying. It was the year my son was born. He was born in February, and I resigned in May. The best thing, so that was kind of exciting and scary at the same time. The the good thing about it though was that I got while I was setting up my office is I got to spend the first 6 months of my son's life at home, and it was amazing to actually be able to be home with him every day. Leave to go do this or go do that or go see a designer or go pick out furniture and secure a place and whatnot. But it was great to be there for the first 6 months of his life. And then Rally opened November 8th. We booked our first load on November the 7th. I'm sorry. And the rest is history. We've got three offices, two in Ontario, one in New Brunswick. And that's it. And then if you want to lead the way with your next question about Razol, or I can go straight into it.
Well, I've got a couple of questions before we're into that. So, it sounds like you were always entrepreneurial,
Yes.
and you finally got your own business going. It's going well. Where did the idea for Razal come from? And then, at what point did you decide I don't have enough work? I'm going to start a company. Like this is how does that thought process happen?
I've never been one to um, be complacent or just sit on my hands and not do something. If I have an idea or if I've got something in my head, I'm going to do it. Well, I'll give you an example about resilience. When I was in college, I had taken accounting as my major. So the first year you do everything, and then the second year you branch off into which one you want to major in. Let's say marketing, accounting, or finance at the time. So I was in accounting, and can I tell you, boy, was that ever boring. So I was like, I can't do this. This isn't me. I'm a salesman. I'm not an accountant. I can't sit there with numbers in front of me all day. So 2 months, 2 months into the term, I actually had to go to my academic supervisor and whatnot and say, listen, I can't do accounting. I got to switch programs. They said, Joe, we're 2 months in. You can't switch programs 2 months in. You got 2 months left in the term. And I said, I'll do it. Just tell me what I got to do. Okay, you know what? Go to every single teacher. I want you to go all the teachers you got now. Then I want you to go to the teachers that, these are the courses that you'd be taking. You got to go get their approval. So I went to each one of them and I pleaded my case. I think I was the only person in history that ever changed their major 2 months into the term, and I had to get caught up, and I graduated with it. I didn't fail anything, which was good, and yeah, but I did it. So that's just who I am when it comes to resilience. So when the Razol opportunity came, I was introduced to it online through some private Facebook groups, and it's happening right now. It's happening within Facebook, but in a very different way. It's happening predominantly in a raffle format. Now, contrary to Facebook's terms and conditions, they would say that that falls under gaming. So participating in these, and um, I started to see an opportunity. I said, you know what? I got a lot of guys that would be like to do this, but not all of them want to be on Facebook. They don't want to be on social media. They're not computer literate or whatever. I said, how do I introduce this to everybody? So we started talking about it with one of my partners, Marco Corsetti, and myself. I said, how do we get this mainstream? So it was me that actually came up with the idea of, because I reached out to my law firm that we deal with, and I said, you guys have any gaming lawyers available? And they introduced me to a guy named Brian Hall, who is actually versed in gaming laws. His firm that's based out of Quebec has represented or had dealings with guys like Poker Stars and DraftKings, and they represent a lot of the First Nations gaming guys and whatnot. So we sat down with him, and to be honest, he said his words still, they stuck in my head. He said, I get tons of stuff that comes across my desk all the time with ideas, business ideas with regards to gaming. He goes, when this one came across from Ted, my litigation lawyer, he goes, when Ted sent me this, I said, this one's got merit, this one's got legs. So in that same conversation, I said to him, he told me what the laws were with regards to gaming, and I said to him, I don't want to be gaming. I want to be mainstream. I don't want to have to worry about that. I don't want to worry about the government shutting me down and whatnot. I said, what if we called it What if there was no prize? What if everybody owned a piece of this? What if everybody had a share in this item that somebody wants to sell? And I said, but at the end, we just kind of say, it's like, I'll give you an example. Me and my two buddies bought a boat. We all pitched in and we got the boat, and we say, one guy says, oh, life's changed for me, I can't get involved in it. Another one says, oh, whatever, we're all good friends, we all put in the money, but we're not going to necessarily buy anybody out. We own the boat, but we said, let's draw straws, and somebody's gonna take the boat for themselves indefinitely. So that's kind of where the idea came for this, was that we sell shares in an item. We allow people, because we are an e-marketplace, we sell shares in an item, and at some point, once the seller's asking price is satisfied, which happens in our back end process, one person becomes the indefinite user of that item, and everyone else waives their right to it. So that got us around the gaming laws, because there's no prize. It's everybody owns it. And we use a third-party randomizer based out of the UK called random.org to keep up with the integrity of it. We could have designed our own randomizer, but we didn't want to do that. We preferred to have it third party, so that there's never any question about our integrity, or how valid the actual randomization is. There's a few other things in there that took us out of the gaming realm, but that's the main thing.
So you've always been entrepreneurial and you've got your own business going. And I like to say opportunity cost is infinite. So while you're starting this other company and putting all this other effort into it, you could be doing infinite number of other things. So what really got you excited about this idea and said, yeah, I need to, because you sound like the person who's coming up with ideas all the time. What motivated you to say, this is the one I'm going to take?
Um, so when I was growing up, you talk to a lot of people, and they always say back in the day, or you look now and you say, if only I had bought land back then, if only I had bought land, if I had bought property, if I had done this, if I had done that, today, or if my parents had done it. My parents came from Italy. They were immigrants to Italy, so I'm a first generation Italian. And we had thought, and there's always been that thing, and this was in my 20s. What do we do? Or even maybe even in my 30s, mostly my 20s, like, where are we going to buy land now? To be honest, it's proved us wrong, because 30 years later we've seen what's happened. You're going up as far as Barrie and whatnot to get homes, and all of that. And we used to always say, the internet's going to be our land. The internet is what our parents had an opportunity to buy property when they got here. Our opportunity is going to be the internet. And why is the internet? Because there's no ceiling on the internet. It can be as big as it grows. Amazon has proved that. eBay has proved that. All these other. I got caught in the .com bubble years ago, and but it's different. I think everybody's become a little smarter, and there's still a lot of .com startups that you're never really sure about. But for me, when I saw the opportunity that Razol had and what some of these big players do, like Amazon and eBay and whatnot, I said, you know what? This has Look, there's three types of ways to buy on the internet. You've got an e-commerce, you've got an e-marketplace, putting third party, and then you've got auctions. Why is eBay as big as it is? And there's, to my knowledge, that there are no other auction sites that are as big as eBay. Well, because eBay was first to market, and they already had such a stranglehold on that market that anybody else who tried coming in wouldn't become a significant player as much as that. Well, Razol now is that player in the crowd purchasing space. So my intention is to grow this as quickly as possible. We put in enough roadblocks, or speed bumps at least, with the trademarking, to try to stop any copycats. And the idea is, I need to get this thing going, and I need to get it going fast, and I want to introduce it to the world, and I want it to blow up quickly. And I'm waiting for that tipping point of, when it actually does go viral. And we're getting close. We're getting closer and closer. There's been a lot of learning curves, but we're getting very, very close to that.
Well, I'm going to ask you next now. Tell us about Razzle and how it works, and maybe you can show it to us even. And for the people who are here, let us know what you think. Does this have that wow factor? Do you want to get on Razzle and go viral? Do you want to tell your friends about it? So what is Razzle, and tell us about it?
I can screen share here. You're gonna have to look at my bad side while I'm looking at my other screens.
And again, while he's getting that going, if you're interested in this, let us know. If you have questions, just put them in the chat room.
Can
All
you see my
right.
screen okay?
Yeah, looks great.
Okay, so I'm going to say that the concept of Razol has changed significantly. We've gone through multiple. We've gone through. This is probably our third or fourth variation of the website. When we first introduced Razol and we first went live through beta, what we had built was a traditional e-commerce site. What we found was people were coming in and not quite getting the concept. They weren't understanding the crowd purchasing and whatnot. So we hired a user experience, our UX auditing company, actually in Toronto, and they came in. That came at a cost, obviously, and they came in and they brought in actual people to sit in front of a computer and without leading them, ask them, "What do you think? What is this?" and everything else. Through all that data and information that we got from it, and some of their advice, we revamped the website to kind of make sure that people understand it when they come into it. Another thing that we introduced to it was right in the bottom right corner is this chat. We found that having the live chat, and for anybody else who has a website, having that live chat is incredibly useful and really gets people to convert a lot easier, because when they have questions and they can get an answer right away by looking at something, it gives them number one, they know that there's actually a person behind there, unless you're using a bot system or an automated system. But we're live on that all the time. We have people that man that. um, it actually answers people's questions, and we're seeing that they're converting by and a conversion for us would be a sign up. As long as we've retained them and we've got the sign up, then the rest of it will come after. So that, to us, that was an integral part of adding into this. So the way the sorry, clicking on everything wrong. So the way the Razol website works is we've got a video. So we've got a learner video for anybody who does enter the site. If they click on that, I'll give it a second.
Mike, he wants to sell a tablet. He recently heard about Razol, a revolutionary e-commerce platform bringing sellers and
So we've got this learner video here that'll explain kind of the concept and what crowd purchasing is for people to take a look at. As they scroll through, we start getting into the items that they may have, that we have listed. So, here's just some information with regards to it about to put people's mind at ease with regards to what we are, why we're guaranteed, how we deal with verified sellers, securing payments and shipments. We don't store any credit card information from a security perspective. For us, it was important, not something we wanted to do because you never know. Nowadays, government computers get hacked or servers get hacked. As much as we've got incredible security on the site and people have tried to hack it, because we get notifications when it happens, nobody has been able to break through us yet. But again, we don't carry credit card information on purpose just to kind of stay away from that. The last thing we need is for people's information. At best, even if somebody did get in there, they're going to get a name and a phone number, maybe, if they can get to that part of it. But we do have everything secured on servers. Here's some items that we have here. Here's our biggest draw right now. We've got the Tesla Model 3 available. In this instance, we've got 1,600 spots right there by $50 a spot. There's 1,569 spots left. We just listed this the other day. And people can jump in and buy any spot that they want. Once they buy this, and you've got multiple pages here of spots, because obviously there's 1,600 of them. Once they want to buy a spot, they would go over to the right side. They'd buy their selected spots. This is asking me to log in. I won't log in, but it is asking me to log in. And then what will happen is if you have the money in your wallet, in your Razol wallet, it'll just buy those spots for you. If you're short, it'll ask you for credit card information, which at that point needs to be entered in. We do accept all major credit cards. We accept debit Visa, and we also accept PayPal currently. And getting money into your wallet really isn't not that hard. Actually, I may have to. So that's the Tesla. So here we have on our carousel, we've got this couple here got tickets to the Toronto Raptors Golden State. They were actually from San Fran. They got tickets to the Toronto Raptors Golden State game when the Raptors won the championship. Here we've got a guy who won the Super Bowl package. We did a Super Bowl package, air, hotel, and tickets. to the game from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I think he bought 5 spots. I'm pretty sure they were $50 a spot. He bought 5 spots at $250 and ended up getting it. He's from New Jersey. These guys are from San Fran. Um, there's Ian and his wife. They've gotten seats to the Leaf games. Another couple that went to a Raptors game. That was the other thing, is that for us, ticket sales for sporting events and whatnot has been the biggest draw for us. Where, and you know very well what it's like, Craig, with Toronto. Getting to a game in Toronto is just, it's costly. A family of 4 is going to set you back hundreds of dollars, if not, you could be into the thousand. Once you, especially if you add a meal in there, you're $1,000 then for sure. So for us to be able to give deliverables like stuff like tickets to a Leaf game for potentially $5 was huge. And one of our members who sells on our site, Jagger Long from Karma Tickets, he actually used the platform. He was moving 3-4 pairs a day on the site, and he loved the idea that his 10,000 or 11,000 followers on his Facebook page all of a sudden had the ability to go to these Leaf games for potentially $5 or $10. It was incredible to him that he had this opportunity, and he's all about giving back, and Karma Tickets all about karma and everything else. So he loves the concept. He's obviously, the last year and a half has been trying for everyone with regards to tickets since everything has been shut down. But yeah, he can't wait for it to just open up again and be able to deliver this same thing to his members again.
So can I ask a couple of questions about how it works?
Of course.
Doesn't really matter what product here, but you're looking at Tesla. Doesn't matter any one of these. You say that it has to reach a minimum. So is there a certain amount of slots that have to be sold before it goes up to auction? Because I saw a time limit as well. So how does that work?
Okay, so it has to reach. So in this case, you've got a PS5, which the world knows how hard these are to come by. So we've got 791 spots left out of 1,000 spots. This is a $1 Raz. We try to put up as many dollar Razs as possible. If people sign up to Razzall, they automatically get $1 put into their account, so they can actually participate for free. So they could buy a spot there. So the way it works is we have to satisfy a seller's asking price. So all of these spots must sell in order to trigger the randomization or the time limit. The time limit is only up. It's whichever comes first. Either it sells or the time limit expires. If the time limit expires and the item doesn't sell, everybody gets their money back into their wallets, and they can use that for other purchases. So there is no minimum. That's the asking price, and that's it. Now let's just say, considering how hot PS5s have been, somebody decided that, you know what, I'm not going to even take a shot at buying a few spots here. I'm just going to buy it now. They could use this buy it now feature right here and trigger the purchase, and everybody else who has purchased spots automatically get that money put back into their wallet. And it doesn't go to randomization. So you've got both options to sell items on Razol, either through the crowd purchasing or through a sale.
And so how does it work if I am a seller? You know, you mentioned someone who's got tickets, you know, maybe got signed memorabilia or whatever I want to sell. Assuming, you know, you have criteria about new and all that kind of stuff. How does it work? How much money do I get? How do you verify that I have what I say I have?
Okay, so so just like eBay, anybody can sell items on eBay. We do have a peer ranking a service on there. So as an example, we would give somebody a Razol verified check mark. If they're Razol verified, then it means that Razol will stand behind it. We'll honor any sale that happened in case the transaction goes south. So in this case, if this is me anyways, I believe. Yeah, so this is Razol Direct, so it doesn't matter. Let's just say Razol Direct wasn't a Razol verified seller, which is right here. If we weren't and that PS5 sold and the person never receives it, then Razol would make good and have to purchase a PS5 on their behalf. That's only for verified sellers. So these are people that would actually go through an application process where we would actually do some kind of a credit check on them to make sure that they're that they're good. We would look at eBay ratings or similar sites to see what their ratings would be like on there. We capture phone numbers and addresses and names of people as well. So that always helps to make sure that a person is real. The With regards to the verified seller part of it, we don't just give that designation to anyone. It would have to be somebody that we know. As an example, like somebody like Jagger, we know him and we gave him a verified status.
Great. Thanks for explaining that. And then, so if I win, like, I could easily see, someone shipping me a PlayStation, but how would I get something as big as a Tesla?
So the good thing about Tesla is that you can buy a Tesla online, which is why we threw that in there. So we had talked, dealerships have talked to us about potentially putting cars on the site, but we didn't feel that it just didn't work, because then you're limited to that particular geographical area. The beauty of Tesla is with the ability to be able to buy everything online. I would actually do the purchase and have it delivered right to somebody's driveway, anywhere they are, as long as there's a Tesla dealership within range and within reason. Obviously, if there's no Tesla dealership within a 10-hour distance, I don't know. I'm not really sure that Tesla would deliver that. So,
And that makes sense. And I guess that's why, obviously Tesla, if you're the selected owner, then they deliver everything personally. I just
exactly.
didn't quite see how the shipping worked with something as big as a car. So that makes a
Giant
lot of
bowl and
sense.
a big bowl in a giant box.
So this is amazing. When I look at this, um, I get some serious FOMO. Like, I want to, and to me that's a good thing. I'm startup coach, and I'm thinking, this is how this kind of stuff goes viral. I want to get on the PlayStation for a chance to for a buck, or on all these things, to be a partial owner, and hopefully I'm selected. This seems like a lot of fun. Is there a spot for people to chat with each other on the site, to build the network with people there, or communicate and that kind of thing? Or
Right. So within the tabs here, we've got the more info, which will give you a little bit more information on it.
yep.
The seller's info is over here, and we also have comments, which are used through Discuss. So people could chat on here. Technically, they could share these items within their Facebook, within their Twitter accounts as well. I can say that not a lot of people use the chat. Sometimes if they need to ask, we always like the idea of somebody who needs to ask a question, that they can ask the question on here. And obviously there might be other people with the same question. So it's beautiful that the sellers can actually reply to someone right there and potentially, answer for a few people instead of having the same thing over and over again. But it's not like a Facebook community chat or Instagram community chat. It's close, but it's not there yet. Someday we hope that those are all things that we'd love to introduce. The thing about e-commerce and online is that it will continually evolve. We've already evolved 3 or 4 times since inception, so we'll continue to do that.
So I talked to a couple of people about Razol, because I knew I was going to interview you. And how do you get over the whole how can they make money? This can't be real thing. I saw the videos there, but there's some initial friction to how can I, how can this happen? And are the videos doing the job? Are your conversion rates where you want them to be?
So the videos you're talking about, this through our advertising
Yeah,
and
or the videos you were showing with learner videos, people sign up to the site and explain how it works and what's happening. This sounds really great, but I talked to a couple of people and they put their skeptic up, saying, how do you get over that? That's what I'm saying from a consumer point of view.
no,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine. We always, so I've always been of the school that I need to answer questions head on. So whenever anybody questions on any of our social posts, the integrity of it, or they claim scam or this, that, and the other thing, the first thing I say is I'll explain it to them that it's not a scam. The other part of it is if you go to random.org, which I'll show you, these are the guys who do all our randomization. these guys do all of our randomizations. If you read up on the about part of random.org, they actually explain who they are, how they came out, how they got into this. They're actually a statistic website that's recognized by MIT, other universities, other businesses, different lotteries and charitable organizations throughout the world. So 100% the randomization is legit, because when the randomization happens, people can click on a link that will go to random.org's website to see who the selected purchaser is. So that there's no scamming there at all. So, but at the end of the day, when you go online, you're always going to get people that are going to question what you do or why you do it, even if you do it with the best interest. Like I said, the only thing that I can do is I can hit those questions head on and answer them. And I've had back and forth discussions with people online. Like they'll say this, and I'll give them an answer for that. And they'll say something else, and then I'll give them another answer. And at the end, when you know they're not gonna give in, well then you know what? That's who they are. And it doesn't matter if I can show them a white piece of paper and say this is white, and they're gonna say it's purple. Then you know what? Then maybe it's just better that no problem. It's not for everyone. That's my famous ending line. I appreciate your opinion, and I can tell you maybe it's not for everyone, but thank you for taking a look.
Well,
And
not everything. Yeah, not everything is for everyone, and that's great. And I looked at this, and we got connected through a compliance officer, and who done research on your company and all that kind of stuff. I'm 100% confident it's legit. You look at the randomizer, and I like that it's on here so people can fully understand how the owner is selected and how this works. That is wonderful. All of this works great, and I'm going to be signing up a little bit later. But you're right now. I want to know about your business model. I think what we haven't asked about and what we haven't talked about is, how do you make money on this?
so, just like any other e-marketplace, we take a percentage and we take it from the seller. Right now, currently, Razol is taking 10%. We only just started. This is the funny part. In March 1st of last year, we weren't taking a percentage while we were beta testing throughout. So we didn't want to take any money from anybody selling anything on the platform, because it was important for us to get members, and we wanted to make it enticing for them. So on March 1st, we introduced a 10% or 10% commission and fee for listing on our platform. And March 15th, everything shut down. So that didn't that didn't work out very well. But that's okay. My investors are all businessmen, and understand that we have challenges that we have to overcome. And we've kind of gone into a holding pattern during the whole COVID thing, and we're just getting ready to ramp back up. And like I said, tickets and sporting events and concerts and all that was our biggest draw. And we are now part of a conglomerate of third-party sellers of event tickets worldwide. And so I'm not your typical StubHub. So we will be selling more items ticket-wise and event tickets throughout North America in coming up, as soon as they start opening up arenas and stadiums to the world. And our commission that we take, our 10% fee that we take from the sellers, we specify to the sellers, just like in eBay. The difference between eBay and us, I should probably note, is that eBay allows people to charge, and I think eBay put some limits now to what shipping costs would cost anyone. Because back in the day, it was funny. They could say, "Do you want to buy a car? It's only going to be $1, but your shipping is going to be 80,000." So and that was a problem. I think eBay put a stop to that years ago. But it's still, like, even right now, sports cards are a huge thing. Like I got a bunch of sports cards on my desk, and there's sports memorabilia or collectible cards that are selling on eBay for $3, and then the shipping is 17. So now you're at a $20. The card all of a sudden becomes $20. It's not $3. The one thing about Razol is that we ask everybody that they must include shipping, no matter what, regardless. And I understand the fact that, well, what if I'm in, let's go as far east as I can. Well, what if I'm in Newfoundland and I have to send a package to San Diego, California? Fine. What's your maximum shipping for that? $100. Good. Work it into your price. And the beauty of it and why it's worked into the price is because it's not one individual who's buying it potentially. It's a group effort. So when I got 1,600, when I've got 1,000 people on that PS5, if my maximum shipping cost is going to be $100 to ship that PS5, then all it requires is another 10 cents per person. Although we don't break it into decimals, but it requires an extra 10 cents per person to cover the shipping cost. And if you happen to ship the buddy next door, great, you've got a little bit more profitability as a seller. And the buyers don't feel it because it's a fraction of what they're actually spending tagged onto their line rate or their spot purchase.
Now you're saying, event tickets and whatnot were your big draw, and obviously, we do events at Toronto Starts, and we haven't done things since March last year. Has that, that's slowed and it's opening up again, especially in the U.S. But has it caused your other stuff to pick up at all?
No, not really, because the difference between Razol and any other e-marketplace or e-commerce. So, toilet paper was a big draw last year. So if you're selling toilet paper, you're in good shape. Well, toilet paper isn't something that we stick on Razol as an e-commerce. We're not putting, we may or may not be, well, uh, earbuds. Okay, they're expensive, but what we're usually the items that we're looking for on Razol are the want items as opposed to the need items. The items of desire that you would love to have, but I don't want to spend the money on it. Like I want to have a Patrick. I'm looking at a Patrick Mahomes card. I want to have a Patrick Mahomes card, but I don't want to spend $2,000 on it. But I'll take a shot with $10 to try to get a Patrick Mahomes. Those are the kind of items that you find on Razor. You don't find the day-to-day stuff, grocery items or anything like that. These are all wants as opposed to needs. Actually, if you look behind me there, I got, I'm a sports memorabilia collector, and I've got Tiger up there, I got Michael Schumacher up there, I've got Muhammad Ali, I've got Pele, some of my goats that we call greatest of all time. And a lot of that stuff, actually all of that stuff, with the exception of Schumacher, was acquired with Razes. They each one of those items may have cost me, $20, $50 maybe. Um, and all of them are valued at much more than that. And I can tell you, I've got a much bigger collection, in other parts of the house or in my office. But these are just some of the items that fit well on my wall for now.
So I know you're out raising money, and you currently have an equity crowdfunding campaign running on Equivesto. And equity crowdfunding is pretty new, and I like to talk to people that are running those campaigns so other people are more aware of it. How has it been going so far? How's your campaign? Where can people find out information? And then I'll ask you a little bit about Equivesto itself.
So I was led to so what when we first came up with the idea of Razol, we went out to about 4 or 5 guys, one being my business partner here at Rally. And we had this idea, and we said, "Listen, let's do this, and let's raise some money, or let's invest, and we're going to create this whole platform." So we got some pricing and about what it was going to cost us to build the platform and everything else. And getting the money from them, I'm going to say, was actually pretty easy. When we had the idea, within a couple of weeks, we had already had about $700,000 or $800,000 committed with an idea and a handshake. And so we went to work. We created the website. We had a budget of about half of that for the development of the website, and the other half was going to be for normal building and everything else. Well, we've reached a point now, a year after beta testing and COVID, we've reached a point now where we've been spending, but not really bringing any more in on Razol. COVID has been the biggest problem. So what we felt was that so somebody came to me with this whole equity crowdfunding. I had never heard of it before. I watched Shark Tank, I watched Dragon's Den, I watched this, I watched that. I'm familiar with venture capitalists and private equity guys and whatnot, but I was unfamiliar of this whole crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding. So I started vetting a few people, a few different companies, and I ended up going with Equivesto, obviously. The beauty of crowdfunding is that, so when we first started this, I'm part of this whole sports memorabilia community. When we first came up with the idea of Razol, we had always said, I had always said from the very beginning, I said, I want this to be big. I don't want this to just be big for me. I want this to be big for everybody around me. You hear the stories about, uh, did you know that there was an employee who was working at Microsoft and they were going to pay him either $40,000 a year? They were going to give him stock options. Well, his stock options would have been worth, $100 million now as opposed to the 40,000 a year he took. And always having that in my mind and knowing that, the ceiling for online is very, very high. I said, I want to make a difference in many people's lives. As much as I'm one of the initial owners and one of the founders, at some point in the life of Razol, we're going to bring this to a bunch of people. And now the intention for me was obviously a lot of friends and family, which I have a lot of. Um, but the community of sports memorabilia collectors who I've been a part of with regards to Razes and whatnot, I always felt that, I'm going to bring this to them as well at some point. When we found out about equity crowdfunding, I said, you know what, this is fantastic because number one, it's simple. Once you prepare all your first registration and all of that, it's easier. It's a lot cheaper than having a lawyer write up share certificates for everybody. But it also allows for micro, I don't even want to say micro investors, but smaller investors. So anybody can invest as little as $103.95 on Razol right now. And I can tell you, our raise right now is for our minimum goal is 100,000. We've reached 69,000 in 2 weeks. We anticipate hitting the 100,000 by next week as our minimum target. Our maximum is $250,000 that we're trying to raise. I would love to see us hit the 250. It's not over. There's a potential of that happening. The 100,000 will be met because I do have a significant amount of commitments that just, for whatever reason, life reasons, they haven't been able to actually go through the sign-up process and providing all the information. But for me, if I had 1,000 people put in $100, that would be significantly more valuable to me than one person putting in 100,000. And here's why. I've got 1,000 ambassadors now, as opposed to one ambassador for the platform. I want these 1,000 people to tell 2 friends each. And now I'm at 3,000. And, obviously, remember I don't know how old you are, but the old commercial with the shampoo and so on. And she told 2 friends and so on until the screen filled up. Well, that's what I want Razol to be, and so on until the screen fills up. So I want as many. The equity crowdfunding for me was a no-brainer because it allowed me to bring in more ambassadors for the brand. It wasn't about trying to get big investors. I wanted a lot of investors. And obviously I'm not going to turn away any big investors if there's anybody out there, but at the end, there's still lots available. So for me it's great. It's fantastic. And if this can become the next big thing, and I can change some of those lives, I'm going to be rewarded just by knowing that I've been able to help somebody.
And just to be clear, what equity crowdfunding allows for things like this is you can buy ownership shares in Razzle for as little as $103.95. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's just because it's $100
Yeah.
normally, but because of the share price, it's 103.95.
There you go. And understanding what would have happened if you got into Facebook or other these companies early. Normal people can't buy these kinds of things until something like an IPO happens. Usually you have to be a retail investor or a high net worth individual. And with the stock market and the way it is, people are wondering where to put their money, and supporting local startups here in I think you're in Woodbridge, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Here in Ontario.
We represent as Toronto because everybody knows Toronto and then everybody knows Woodbridge, but we are physically in Woodbridge.
Yeah, I was going to toss out Toronto, but here in Ontario, want to support local companies that are doing wonderful things like this. Ecovest is a great platform. So check a look at that link I threw in the chat room there if you're interested. And feel free to invest or sign on to Razzle. And I'm going to be razzling later. It looks like there's a few things I'd like to potentially get in on. And it's kind of exciting. Knowing that not only maybe I didn't get selected as the owner of the Tesla, but that I'm a part owner and that I helped someone else do.
And that's the beauty of it too, is that and that's where the whole crowd purchasing came from. You got people crowdfunding this, or raising money for charities and whatnot, and people get some kind of a reward out of that, knowing that they've helped someone else. Well, in this case, they're hoping that they're the ones who are going to be it, but at the very least, they know that they've helped another like-minded person who had, the same interest in something, attain that item that they would normally have gotten. And you know what? Once it goes, if you're not the person, hopefully there'll be one up again, another one up next week, and you can give it another shot. But we've got many people. If you look at our social media, we've got many people that have participated and been participating for over a year that have had multiple items shipped to them as a result of the randomization. But these are people that obviously have been supporting it and have participated significantly, and maybe not even just significantly, maybe they've just been lucky, but they've gotten items that they would normally not have seen.
Absolutely. And I see some interesting stuff in here that I was thinking about purchasing over the next year, and maybe some fun stuff that I wouldn't buy a PS5, but I will Razzle one and see what happens, because exactly. But I'm in the thinking about a new Mac. You got a MacBook Air there. There's iPads. There's all sorts of stuff, and why not put $20 to one of these things, or a couple hundred, and see what happens.
Exactly. And you know what? And you're right about the excitement part of it. It's there is a rush, obviously, when you find out that you're the one, and there's some anticipation prior to that. Like I can tell you, we did Leaf season tickets. A group of coworkers purchased. They all pitched in. This was great, actually. They all pitched in. So it's a 42 game schedule, 41, whatever it is. And they all pitched in. I think they pitched in a couple $100 each or something like that. And they bought a bunch of spots for this Leaf season ticket race. So they ended up getting it because they had a lot of spots. If they didn't, it would have sucked to be them, but it ended up working out for them. So I think there was like 6 or 7 of them all pitched in a couple $100 each. It was an $18,000 or $17,000 US line. They ended up getting the tickets. They took those tickets and they did a draft. They said, okay, pick a game. Next guy, pick a game. Next guy, pick a game. So these guys all had a partial share in these lift tickets. But that particular thing, and this is the typical, and this happens in crowdfunding as well, is that the very beginning you get some heat and you get some client, and then all of a sudden there's interest, and then it kind of plateaus, and then all of a sudden as you get close to the end, all of a sudden everybody starts saying, "Ooh, I better jump in, I better jump in, I better jump in," and that's where the FOMO in this particular instance, with regards to the Leaf tickets, the last 3 days and even into the last night. I think like 60% of the Leaf tickets or the spots had sold in the last 48 hours. And it was like 60, maybe even 70%. And that happened with the Super Bowl and then what's funny is that you get people calling you after it's gone and saying, I tried to get in and I couldn't get it. And so there's like a whole bunch of excitement. I'm like, well, I told you, I've been telling you for weeks to get in before it goes nuts. And you waited till the last minute. Yeah, but I wasn't sure if it was going to go. And Well, it's going to go because everybody waits until the last minute for it to go. And then it goes. So if anybody's going to get involved in anything on Razol, please jump in sooner than later, so you don't give me a heart attack at the end of the night, on the last night before it runs, because typically they end at midnight. So I'm up till late looking to see what happens.
So people don't necessarily have to go to the website. You've got like an Android app and an iOS app. Can you tell me a little bit about the process going through launching these things? I know famously, lots of startups in our community submit their thing to Apple, and then 2 months later it finally gets approved. How was your process? What worked and what didn't?
So the guy, our developers, Express Labs, Dan and Jordan, they handle all of that. But yeah, it was, especially Apple is a little bit more difficult than Google, the Google Store, that's for sure. Um, very stringent on their changes. The other part of it was, with regards to like every little change that you make has to get approved, and there's a waiting process. It ended up working out eventually. We had originally had an actual standalone app in both stores, but every time we needed to make a change, it was very, very difficult. So Dan and Jordan came to me and said, Joe, listen, why don't we make a hybrid app? It's and forgive me because of the technology thing. I'm in the trucking business full time. So the technology thing for me, I just go by what they told me. Um, the They wanted to bring it to a hybrid because it was just easier and it was less. You get less the compliance issues with regards to any changes that you make or tweaks and whatnot. So that's where we are. I think the app is important. If you use a browser, a mobile browser, the platform should load properly anyways. I welcome when people, ask me questions and say, hey, this might not be working, or this isn't working properly, or this is, because we move on it pretty quick to make sure that we find out why it's moving. The other part is with technology changing, like these phones, like we're into iOS 14 point whatever point, and it's changed. It's kind of messed everything up for some apps, at least. It's messed some apps up, and that's the thing, is constantly being on it. You don't know if somebody's still on an iPhone 5, and so the guys come to me and they say, Joe, like how? And I didn't understand all of this before, but hey, Joe, what version of iPhone do you want to accommodate? So what do you mean? What I want to accommodate an iPhone? Yeah, but it's not like that. It depends on the operating system. Like we can go as far back as, and they have phones for testing, like iPhone 4, I think is the earliest that they have. So they have phones for testing, and they have to make sure that they work on all platforms. But the thing about technology is that you change one thing and four other things break. So it's not easy. You need a lot of patience. You need thick skin, and you need the developers who are going to be all over it to be able to fix it accordingly. So, like I said, us having an app was important. It wasn't that important, but I know a lot of people like to use apps, so it was important for us to make sure that we had something available for everybody.
That's great. I know it can be difficult. I know people have all sorts of challenges with apps and in different usability and trying to get the same functionality in the same space and stuff. So I always like to ask people about that. So what's next for you and Razol?
So ideally, we want to finish this equity crowdfund. Like I said, I'm very confident that we're going to hit our minimum. We'd love to hit our maximum. The reason for this raise, another reason for this raise was that we wanted to be in a well positioned for September, October, for when we feel, I'm pretty sure that things will open up in September, October, will we be back. Like I said, the event tickets and sporting events, obviously, we're the biggest draw to get signups because ticket prices are ridiculous, and buying from some of my competitors with 30%, they got 30% commission fees and this and that. Uh, Razol, we think, is going to be that platform that helps bring the memberships. We're not leaving any other items out of the platform, as an example with the Apple and Tesla and whatnot. But the tickets seem to have been the biggest draw to bring people. So we're going to focus on that to draw more members to the site. We want to build the platform a little more to be able to show our investors that taking this money and using it for predominantly advertising and marketing, because my monthly burn rate really is not that high. So a lot of that money that we're raising was more about getting our name out there and getting people to sign up to the platform and getting our usership, our membership up. Eventually, depending on where that goes, we will look at potentially another raise to build it if we're not where we want to be. And ideally, in the long run, I want to take this public. Either I want it to be an IPO. There's my accountant said to me, "Why are you so stuck on the IPO thing?" He goes, "What if what if somebody came over to you and said, I want to buy it for 500 million?" I said, "Well, now you're that's a different story. If I can get my investors a return, and I can do what's best for them, then absolutely that would be something else to look at. But right now, the idea is to build it as quickly and as big as we can. We've learned a lot over the last 3 years or 2 years that we've, even through beta. We participated in the Consumer Electronics Show. We actually had a booth where we presented this in Eureka Park, which is all for startups. And me being new to this whole thing, this tech thing, we went there, had this great idea. We're going to go to the CES, and Bill Gates is going to walk by, or Elon Musk is going to walk by, or Ashton Kutcher is going to walk by and say, "Wow, this is an amazing idea. I'd like to buy you," or "I'd like to invest." We thought that I was convinced that it was locked up. We had a list of 3,000 reporters and writers from different magazines and newspapers all over the world, and it was like constantly messaging them while I was at the show, stop by our booth, giving away gift certificates and whatnot. And I'm going to be honest, it was a waste. I've learned my lesson now. What I got from that was a hell of a lot of people knocking on my door asking me if I want to buy the vendor list. And people trying to get me to, get them to do videos or what. Like I still get them to this day. "Oh, you're participating in CES 2024. Like I participated once, and now they ask me every year if I'm participating. But anyways, we took on a significant ad budget in the very beginning, thinking that it was easy. Oh, great! You put a $30,000 ad out, you're going to get 1 million people signed up. It didn't happen. Well, we took on influencers that had a significant membership, and thinking that with those amount of followers, we can convert 10% of them. I'm learning now that it doesn't work that way. It's not that easy. That the membership and the user base has to build organically. That it's breadcrumbs. It's you put a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit until eventually you build it. I was not used to that. When I came into the logistics business, having 16 years in it, my partner and I had budgeted, had projections of X in our first year. Well, in our first year, we did 140% of what my projections were. The year after that, we were 200% of what our projections were. I've never been used to building something slowly. To me, it's just come out of, woo-hoo, guns a-blazing. This is going to happen. It's going to be great. It's going to, take off within a couple of months. Well, that didn't happen. Well, now I've learned that. So now that I've used my money stupidly, and I don't mean to say stupidly in a bad way. I mean, just like dumping money in advertising, thinking this is that's all it takes. This isn't set it and forget it. This is work. And bringing on the people that we've brought on now from a marketing perspective has really helped open my eyes. And having and I've got Ben. And that was the other part of it. I did all of this in the very beginning. We brought in Ben, who's got a YouTube channel, and he's got like 2 million views on one of his videos and whatnot. Anyways, bringing on Ben and having them teach me that this is small steps, to get to the big picture. It just doesn't blow up over, the success stories of something blowing up overnight are few and far between, because there's 1,000 that have failed. So now that I know that, I'm going to take this money that we get from this equity crowd fund, and we're going to use it much smarter when it comes to our marketing and advertising budgets, and do everything that they've talked to me about, what, how we're going to implement things. And right now I can tell you that it's been great. And I'm the first person to know where my deficiencies are, which is why I had brought in Ben. I can run a company great, but if I don't understand online, then if it's not my strength, then I better bring somebody else who's strength it is. I forget who it was, but somebody said, make sure you hire people that are smarter than you. I forget which businessman it was, but there's all kinds of quotes and sayings out there. And I have no problem with that. I sat down with my lawyer and my accountant and this and that, and they're looking at me. This is about our trucking company one day, and this is a true story. We're sitting in a boardroom, and there's like 6 people around me, and they're all looking at me, and we're talking about whatever business stuff. And they're looking at me, and they said, "So Joe, what do you think?" I said, "Guys, I'm the dumbest person in the room right now. You guys tell me what I should do if it was yours, and then I'll make a final decision based on all the information that I have from you guys. That's what you guys are paid for." And it's always done me well. It's always done me well to be transparent, even in my full-time business. I take on a lot of advice. I always ask questions. I ask anybody. I'll ask anybody from, from that does a smaller job to somebody who has a very important job. And all of their opinions are important to me, because sometimes it's not necessarily the opinion that they've given me, but it might be the opinion that triggered a different thought for me. And I do that a lot in my business here, where something is going to happen, or I'm going to make a change, or I'm going to go after something, and I bring it to the floor. And the first thing I do is I always walk out to the floor. I said, "Okay, guys, give me 5 minutes." And I talk to my staff about it. And although they may not have, sometimes they'll give me the right answer collectively. Sometimes they don't give me the right answer, but they get me into a thought process that gets me to the right answer. And I find that very, very important, to take in as much information from people and absorb it, and and follow up on that once I have a better idea. Like, the brain's always on for me. It's always on. I'm always thinking, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that. It's funny, because Razol, we've come to a point now where somebody will come to me with an idea, and with all due respect with them, and the idea that they may give, they say, "Why don't you?" And I say, "Yeah, I've been there, done that." And they'll come up with something else. I say, "Yeah, I've tried that." Or they'll come up with, "Well, yeah, we thought about that, and I ran it by some other people, and whatever." So I can tell you that there has been so many different ideas and so many different thoughts. And I can almost say that I've thought of almost every one of them. Once in a while, somebody will hit me with something new where I'll be like, "Oh, wow, that's a good one. Yeah, I never thought of that. Okay. You know what? I'm going to take that. And then what I'll do is I'll take their advice, and then I'll go to 5 other people and get their advice on it as well, because I like to be sure. And then once in a while, you kind of pull the trigger and just say, "You know what? Screw it. If I don't try this, I'm not going to know." That's entrepreneurship. You don't know if you don't try, and it's a roller coaster of emotions. I can tell you that. I've been so deflated with where we are with this at points, and then something happens, and I'm like, "All right, this is it. This is the one." And then something happens, and you're like, "Oh," it's like golf. You take 10 bad shots, and you hate the game, and then all of a sudden you make one good chip, and all of a sudden it's the greatest game in the world. It's the same thing in business. You have 10 things that hurt you, and then one good thing happens, and all of a sudden it breathes new life in you, and you're ready to take on the world again. And I think that's where we are right now. I think we've got this breath of fresh air with equity crowdfunding, with bringing in more people, with getting more people out there. I've got better direction now about where my advertising and my marketing dollars should be spent. Um, I was really confident about it in the beginning, and then it kind of plateaued, and now I'm back up to my excitement I was when I first started with the idea. And that's a good thing. And I think that this is it. As soon as we get out of this COVID stuff, this is going to be it.
So for the people who are listening, not just for the people who are watching, where can they find out more about Joe and Razzle?
You can go to okay, I'll make it easy for you, so you don't have to write stuff down. If you go to the Razol website, that's ZZL, and you click on the Invest Now button, it's going to take you straight to our platform. To the Equivesto landing page, the campaign page. You can see here that we've raised $68,000 so far, and we're a minimum goal of $100,000. And there's a video here about the presentation, and there's a whole bunch of information here with these are the guys who won These are the guys who won the Leaf tickets. So real Razzle users and more. I'm going through this fast, but there's tons of information here. Here's our team, or some of our team rather. But like I said, if you just go to the Razol webpage and click on Invest Now at the very top, it doesn't mean you're investing. It just means you're getting more information on it. The investing part will come later once you look through it all.
I really like talking to you today. Thank you for taking the time to explain crowd purchasing and what Razzle is all about and how it works in your business model. I'm looking forward to seeing your successful equity crowdfunding campaign, and I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to razzling some stuff a little later today. Thanks for taking the time today, Joe.
Great, thank you. One other thing for your followers, I forgot. I'm sorry, I tend to go on a little bit. But for your followers, I'd like to give all of you this. If you guys, at the beginning, when you sign up, there's a part that says promo referral code. Please write in TorontoStarts or something to that effect. Because if you write in TorontoStarts, not only will you get the dollar added into your account, we're going to top it up with another $5. I'll leave that open for a week today. So as long as you register with that referral code TorontoStarts, you'll get a total of $6 into your account, and that'll give you the ability to participate in some of the razzles on my dime. No problem at all.
Fantastic, and I'll make sure that gets in the show notes and everybody gets that. Appreciate that, taking the time. Promo code TorontoStarts for 5 free razzles and whatever you want to spend them on. Thanks again for taking the time. Check out Razzle.com. Check out their equity crowdfunding campaign. And check out all the stuff they have on offer that you can razzle. Some of it's pretty cool. That's it for our startup talk for today. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be back soon. We've got events all the time. And stay tuned, TorontoStarts.com. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Thanks again, Craig. Take care.